What is up, everybody? My name is Sean Triggle, and this is the History of Editing documentary. Editing is one of the most important and popular techniques in filmmaking today. And firstly, we're going to go back to 1895 with the Lumiere brothers. I say here we have an example of their first work. It's simply a load of people leaving work, or I imagine that's a factory. Basically, this is a one-shot. And a one-shot is where you place the camera somewhere, you press record, and just simply record everything that is happening in front of the camera. The Lumiere brothers are actually one of the biggest names in film industry. Without the Lumiere brothers, there wouldn't really be film, in my opinion. You wouldn't be able to actually... You wouldn't know what a film is, you wouldn't know how to use a camera. We would definitely be confined to actually only really making pictures or stop motion sort of animations and everything. So yes, the Lumiere brothers are actually the biggest pioneer in filmmaking. You can imagine, you can sort of imagine this part being staged as I say, a camera was a completely new thing. No one really knew what it was at the time. So the fact that no one is actually looking at it and wondering what on earth this object is in front of them is quite weird to me. So you can imagine that this part is probably staged. I've made my own example of this shot, the one-take shot. And so yeah, we're going to fade out of the Lumiere brothers example and go on to my example now. It consists of three people just jumping in a field. I say, this shot is a one-take. Nothing about this shot is like cut together. There's no other additional footage added really to change it. Everything you see on it was all recorded at that one point in time. I'm going to repeat it for you here. And so yeah, this is, I imagine, is a Lumiere brothers example of film. What I think about them also is that, again, not only are they the biggest names in this sort of film industry, without them they wouldn't really be film, in my opinion. Next up, though, we've got Georges Méliès. He was a performer/magician and invented the jump cut. You can see some sort of object, I think it's like meant to be a bird flying there, and he's appeared. Basically, Georges Méliès found out that when you have a camera and you record it, you could, for example, press record, do some sort of actions, then you get someone to stop recording, make sure everything is in the exact same position, except maybe move like one thing. It's like right there, I think at some point he's going to make a person come out of the cauldron, and then he's going to make them teleport down. This is basically a jump cut or in-camera editing. Here we have my own example of this. Here we see we have one person walking down a ramp and people just appearing out of nowhere and disappearing immediately. This was an example of a jump cut. I'd say it looks kind of jumpy, and because we tried our very best to keep the camera as still as possible between different takes. And again, without Georges Méliès, we wouldn't actually have a jump cut. We wouldn't be able to pull off these illusions and everything, because at the time when these were made, they were incredible. These films back in those days were more of a spectacle rather than just a normal source of entertainment. Right, we're now going to be moving on to intercutting. Here we have a film called The Gay Shoe Clerk, and saying that is gay is in happy. I was a little bit confused the first time I heard it as well. Basically, it's like the Lumiere brothers example. It's basically a one take. You see the shoe clerk trying out different shoes for the woman, and yes, he's trying to find just a different selection of shoes. The difference is, though, is that at one point during the video, we're going to cut to a different shot, which I believe is a close-up of the woman's leg. You'll see what exactly is going to happen in a minute. But yes, this was sort of the beginning of a really good story. Up until, before this point, apart from the exception of Georges Méliès, it wasn't really, there wasn't really a way you could tell a proper story through film. But this was the beginning of storytelling through film. You see the woman is actually raising her skirt. That's a bit inappropriate. But yes, he's gone in for a kiss. We wouldn't have known why the shoe clerk would actually gone for a kiss at that point if we hadn't had the intercutting part there. Say this shot or this cut is actually the start of like storytelling. Here we have another example. We have a girl trying to put on a bracelet. She's so far looking at it, and then, yes, she's now trying to put on the bracelet, and she is apparently struggling. Yeah, we wouldn't know exactly what she is doing unless we have this intercutting shot. And here, we zoom out, and yeah, she's put on the bracelet. We're going to show this example a few more times, and yeah, it's pretty much it. Again, without this shot, well, storytelling would be incredibly hard to tell. Next up, we have continuity editing. Now, basically, continuity editing is like every other film that we have seen and are going to probably see for many, many generations to come. It is basically a lot of footage put together, cut together, mashed together to create a story, to create a movie. Here is an example of continuity editing in which Marty McFly in the film Back to the Future is trying to get back to the year 1985. He's currently stuck in the year 1955. His car, which is also a time machine, is currently not driving, and also the Doc is trying to connect the two wires together so that the bolt of lightning will actually be transferred from the lightning bolt into the flex capacitor to help it work. And now here is an example of my own continuity edit. This I made quite a while ago, a couple of months ago, and it basically consists of this poor man Nathan is very badly injured from what would appear to be a wound or like a stabbing from a screwdriver from a murderer. He is coming downstairs trying to get away. Obviously, he is still very hurt, but later on you see again a series of different shots that will show that the killer is actually catching up to Nathan. I think in a moment you're going to actually see him fall over. Was there another shot there? You see the killer in the background. That wasn't really meant to be, but yes. Here's the shot of Nathan falling down, sort of like falling. He's like unconscious. We see the killer's supposedly stabbing him in the neck. We're going to show the example again, and the note saying "You're next." Without continuity editing, there would be no films. I can say that 100% guaranteed. There would be no films, or at least if there are films, they would be very, very boring to watch. No one would be really interested. People would put their interest into different things. So yeah, again, he's falling down the stairs there. So yeah, we see continuity editing quite a bit, but there are other things that we do use within continuity editing in films to make it a little bit more entertaining to watch. Films are no longer a spectacle, not like when it was with George Méliès or the Lumière brothers. Films are now a source of entertainment. We go there to escape reality and to just watch a very good story, or what would hopefully be a very good story. And the next part is actually rhythmic editing. Now, rhythmic editing is basically a piece of footage or a series of pieces of footages, if that's even a word, basically put together, and then it's edited in time with music. This is quite a long intro. This is the intro to the film Saturday Night Fever, which starred the actor John Travolta. And you'll basically see after the little bit of intro, you'll hear the music to the song "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. And yeah, you'll see him actually walking in time with the music. Now this was cleverly edited in a way. You'll see John Travolta there. I think the music's going to be starting in on that, yeah. We see him walking there, checking out his shoes. He's already got the same pair. You'll notice now he's walking in time with the music. And you'll see like the rest of the shots that we use here, or that is used here as the example. Again, he is still walking in time with the music here. And even when he turns round in a few minutes to actually see a woman walking by him, again, he's still walking in time with you. This is rhythmic editing. Without rhythmic editing, there wouldn't really... I think watching a piece of footage and then listening to music a lot of the time would be a little bit boring. You'd get very same thing after a while. So having like an actor like now walking in time with music, you can sort of not like pop your head along to it. It's quite nice. Here's my own example of a rhythmic edit. That part there wasn't completely in time, but you'll notice that again, like especially in the knocking here, we used the instrumental to the song Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. Again, supposedly walking in time with music, especially in this shot right here. And again, like when he's knocking on the door, it's just sort of it makes you feel good. They use this a lot in music videos, because a lot of time when you watch a music video, you're not actually watching it for the video. You're watching it for the music, and I think it's quite satisfying looking at something on screen and like seeing actors or singers dancing or singing or doing some sort of action in time with the music. It just feels a lot more satisfying. It feels right. The next few examples that I'm going to show are actually of a montage. The montage I'm going to be using is of the film Rocky, or the fourth film of the Rocky series. This is basically a training montage, and a montage is a series of clips that shows a sort of character development. You see here that some of the people are training, I believe, for a boxing match, and a lot of time in montage shows used quite a bit in sports films. As I said, this is definitely a sports film. It will show like a character firstly being very bad or definitely not good at training or doing certain jobs that will aid them in the sport that they want to do. But then over time they get better. You can't really show that in a film as such if you were to do it normally, because what you would want to be a montage would be the whole length of the film. So a montage is basically, it's kind of like a mini film if you really, really think about it, because the training obviously is going to take quite a long time, maybe months, maybe even years, but you can't obviously show years worth of training in a whole entire film without people probably getting very bored. So you do this within a 3 to 5 minute segment of just pure training. You see the characters doing or getting very better at their training there. So yeah, that is a montage. Without a montage, I'd say it'd be very difficult to actually believe that an actor, like especially in a sport film, an actor has just suddenly become very good at their job, at their training in such a short time. You wouldn't really believe it unless you saw them actually training. Now, lastly, we've got the use of parallel editing. This is actually from a film called The Schindler's List.
That's not a
now, I will admit I haven't actually seen the film, but I believe what happens in this scene is that the man is obviously talking to a woman about something, and then later on you actually cut to a different shot. I don't know exactly what it is. I believe it's like just some woman being like flirting with a guy. I'm assuming he's in like some sort of club. And a parallel edit is basically two stories that are happening at the exact same time, and they're being shown. Like another example you probably could do is like you could have one story shown on one half of the screen and a story shown on the other half of the screen. That's another way you could use a parallel edit there. Without parallel editing, you could sometimes be very confused. It's not a flashback or a flash forward in which two stories are happening, but one has happened in the past or one's going to happen in the future. Both stories are happening at the exact same time. Close the history of editing documentary. Hope you enjoyed it.